Well, good afternoon, everybody. Gonna give it a couple seconds, let everybody trickle in here. Today, we're gonna be talking about the infamous Libertarian Party. Since the convention is this weekend, I was going to go, but I'm not. I figured it would be timely to talk about it, and unfortunately, I probably should have lined up a guest or something like that to talk about this. Maybe I could reach out to Angela, but I'll probably do that after the convention, maybe something like that, or whoever the presidential nominee is. Um, I'm going to be camping up in Nesta this weekend, so I'm going to be far, far away from the swamp, even from my house. My wife, my dogs, and I, and her family are going to be up there kayaking, drinking, eating, having a grand old time. So I'll be far away from political stuff as possible. I'll probably still listen to podcasts and stuff while I'm up there, just kind of running around, working out, and all that good stuff. But I wanted to talk about the Libertarian Party in 2024, the Mises Caucus, the presidential candidates, how I think they're doing, who I would support, and I don't know if I'd give like a loud endorsement, but definitely who I would support at the convention if I were there, and kind of I think it's going to shake out for them this year. So I guess before I start diving into all that good stuff, make sure you hit all of the links below to figure out where you can find what I got going on. A Common Crown, my link tree, Tiger Fitness, of course, to get your protein. They're gonna have a killer Memorial Day sale. I just know it. They always do. So I have like $300 worth of stuff sitting in the cart right now. You should go over there and probably put like, I don't know, like two, 300, maybe $400 of stuff in your cart just because it's worth it. And I'm sure you're gonna get like a free hoodie, a hat, and maybe some supplements. But anyways, hit the link below to get all that good stuff, as well as Fox and Sons Coffee, foxandsonscoffee.com. Use code Kyle at checkout to let Steve know that I sent you and get a little bit of discount as well. So, without further ado, guys, let's rock and roll. And one more time, good afternoon, everybody. If you're listening to this in the morning after I put it out, then good morning, or whenever you listen to this, I hope you're doing well. All that good stuff. As I said in the introduction, that I will not be going to the Libertarian Convention this weekend. Kind of sucks, kind of doesn't. I kind of wish I was, but at the same time, not going to DC does sound pretty awesome. If I did go, um, I probably wouldn't have even gone to the convention. I probably would have just hung out in DC and kind of explored around, went to a gym or something like that, and then waited till everybody was done for the night or for the day or whatever. Or maybe gone to like the events when the speakers are there, but I definitely wouldn't be participating in like the day-to-day stuff. I did that for about 2, 3 years in a row, and it's just relentlessly boring, and it's not my deal. I understand people say, "Oh, get involved locally and this and that," but man, the Libertarian Party is just fucking boring. And I'm sure all other political movements, parties, stuff like that is, but just like, good lord. I, I can't sit through the Robert's Rules of Orders. This is dilatory. I'd like to move this motion, make a motion, whatever. It's just monotonous, boring stuff that like I feel like I have way more important stuff in stuff that I'd much rather be doing than sitting in a hall yelling about Robert's Rules of Order and if this is out of motion or whatever. But it's pretty interesting that they managed to get Donald Trump there. Um, I know we talked about this a little bit a couple episodes ago when Robbie Martin, Pat, and Connor had all kind of joined the show to discuss this a little bit, and Kyle Anselone gave his thoughts last week. But I think it's a good thing for the Libertarian Party because um, it's going to get them a lot of exposure, and if done correctly, you could pull a lot of people over to our direction if done correctly. I think if you're a shithead to Donald Trump just to be a shithead, I think that sets a bad precedent going forward. I've had mixed feelings on it, as I'm sure everybody who listens to me kind of knows. Um, I'm not a fan of Donald Trump, and anybody who looks at my Twitter knows that. And it's not because I think he's a Nazi or anything like that. It's because he fell through on a lot of the things that he said he would do, which all were good stuff, but he ultimately did not live up to those promises. And he essentially carried out the progressive agenda under the guise of Make America Great Again. But that being said, his supporters who may not be keenly aware of this and may not be exposed to the libertarian arguments from the libertarian perspective on Donald Trump, um, that might wake them up to how both Trump and Biden are essentially working together to fuck you. It's interesting. I don't know how it's going to play out. I don't know how people are going to act. I really hope people don't ruin it because I think if you have the former president of the United States willing to come speak at the Libertarian Party, um, I think you should at least give him the respect and listen to him because once again, this guy probably is going to be president. Once again, I wouldn't endorse Trump. I didn't vote for him in 16, didn't vote for him in 20, and I'm not going to vote for him in 2024 or even 2028 for that matter. If by some margin he loses or something like that, but I do think that it's worthwhile to at least court him in some respect to that way hopefully win over some of the people that he has in his audience. They're getting RFK to come as well, which I think is once again a good thing because I think it's a good idea to expose people who support RFK to our ideas and see if maybe we could pull them closer to our lexicon. I think there's a lot of overlap here as much as people kind of want to shit on RFK. He does kind of represent a more dissident part of the left part of America. I don't like to say left half or right half because I don't think that saying that half of America supports Trump and half of America supports Biden is accurate because when you look at the overall demographic of America, it's like half of all Americans vote. So we're really talking like a third or less of Americans that support Trump or Biden. And there's probably like in the other half that doesn't vote, period, there's probably a lot of people that either just don't pay attention or would probably waffle one way or another if really pressed to it, but they just don't find politics interesting enough to really give their time to. And I'm very, very sympathetic to that message. Conrail, thank you so much. Ron Paul will be there at the end of the convention. That settled some of my concerns with the LP convention. Yeah, reasonably so. I can't say I was exactly surprised to see that they pulled Ron Paul. It just makes sense because he had Josh Smith and Michael Rectenwald on, which we'll kind of talk about that a little bit more later on in the show. I think it's really cool that he did that. Very appreciative that Ron Paul would give them his platform, and even same with Tim Pool. As much as I make fun of him, I'm grateful that he had the presidential candidates Josh and Reck both on, because in my opinion they are the only two serious Libertarian Party presidential candidates. We'll get into that in a little bit, but I really got to give it to Angela for putting this all together, who is a friend of mine, and I do like her quite a bit, and I hope she wins chair again, because I know it's been a little bit of a disaster, but I think it's a disaster because she had to clean up a lot of the mess that was there beforehand, and running the Libertarian Party, I'm sure, just is not easy. I mean, I'm sure it's very, very stressful. And she's a new mother too, so a lot of weight on her shoulders. So I'm sure that that's a lot of stress for her. But maybe a little bit more background when it comes to me and the Libertarian Party. I had worked for the Libertarian Party for quite a while, and I was actually doing a lot of calls for the Mises Caucus back in 2021, leading up to the convention, which I believe was in not Harrisburg. Oh, it's gonna bug the shit out of me. Williamsport. It was in Williamsport. I did a lot of calling for the Mises Caucus in 2021, and I worked very, very closely with the Mises Caucus, and I was the treasurer of the Westmoreland County Libertarian Party, which I only did for a very, very brief stint. That was just a lot of work for me, and I found that doing this podcast here for me, I felt was a lot more appropriate use of my time than being the treasurer of the Westmoreland County Libertarian Party. My brother has since assumed that role, and that's where it is. It's whatever. Um, but in 2022 and I would say early 2021, after starting the podcast, I just didn't feel like the Libertarian Party was, I don't want to say worth my time, but I just didn't feel like I had the time to dedicate to it, and I felt like there were other priorities in my life, such as the podcast, such as my relationship, such as my job, such as my physical fitness and health, and such as my band, that preoccupy my time, and I think that are much more of priorities for me than to participate in the Libertarian Party. Now, that being said, other people who do local activism, because I know that some mutuals of mine, some friends of mine, talk about local activism a lot. I think it's very, very important. I think that people, if they're going to be in this political world and want to work in the party, or in a political party, then going a local route probably is a good idea, because I think if you're running for Senate, for Congress, for president, anything like that, I just don't think you're going to get a lot of traction, especially as a libertarian. Local's probably the way to go. So, I don't know how many people would know this, but maybe some will, some won't. There was a little bit of a falling out with me and the Mises Caucus. I still support them and what they're doing, but um, I was in a chat with the Mises Caucus on the inner chat, and I shared a screenshot, which was my fault and something I shouldn't have done, with somebody, and it got back to somebody in charge of that pretty quick, and from there our relationship was a little bit rocky. I thought we smoothed things over, but unfortunately we didn't, and a certain person in the Libertarian Party definitely does not like me anymore, and it is what it is. I wish him well. I wish all the projects in the Mises Caucus well. No bad blood, whatever. But since then, I think I've laid it out clearly a couple times on the podcast that I do believe that the Mises Caucus felt like it kind of just floundered right after the takeover happened, because there was a lot of energy, especially when Dave was kind of flirting with running. I know everybody wanted him to run, and I did too, but I think he made the right decision for him. I trust his intuition. I trust his decisions. So, he felt that his family and where he was at the time just was not appropriate for him to be running for president. And fair enough. I mean, I'm not in his shoes. I don't know all the variables that are going on. Just he felt it wasn't the time for him, so it wasn't the time for him. But I'm sure I'm not alone in thinking and seeing him do all these debates and just walk all over these wretched Zionists, and wipe the floor with all these people and all these debates. I know I can't be the only one thinking like, man, if that was a libertarian presidential nominee, it would be game over. Like, to see that guy and realize that, like, there's a third party who represents something different, and they're just murdering all these debates. Can't help but think that would be pretty cool to have right now. But I do like Josh, and I do like Rec. All the other candidates who we're going to cover here in a bit, I'm not as much of a fan of. But yeah, that being said, when Dave had announced that he wasn't running, I would say like that air of almost like a year of the takeover in, I want to say it was May of 2022, until Dave made his announcement in like 2023. Um, Everybody was kind of like up in the air. Everybody was kind of like, what the hell's going on? Where is our leader for the movement? And really, Dave is kind of the centerpiece of that role. I mean, he is probably the most well-known libertarian, and he's going on the big platforms. He's doing all the debates and all that stuff. So really, I can't blame people for being upset and for looking to him as a leader, and then him, when he decided not to run, people being ultimately upset with the Mises Caucus takeover and saying that it was kind of a failure. Because let's be honest, my understanding is that the Libertarian Party is in big financial disrepair right now. I mean, there's a lot of issues going on there. The presidential candidates, we got, as much as I like Rechtenwald, and I've listened to, lots of his podcasts and stuff like that. Um, he doesn't have the same charisma that Dave does. He's kind of the consolation prize for the Dave Smith presidency. Let me get into some of these comments here. I'll start off at Conrail and I'll work back to Sean. A big problem with the Mises Caucus is how they centrally plan and try too hard to push libertarians to work with them. Dave Smith, I think, said something similar in a podcast not too long ago. Kind of goes against Ron Paul's decentralized, do what you want to do position. And which people interested in candidacy look best, and which people not interested in it should be. Um, so for me, I'm going to cover this a little bit later, but definitely my guys are um, Josh Smith and Michael Rechtenwald, which I will say in this podcast who I prefer a little bit later on. Um, Josh has had some blunders when it came to China stuff because he had there was something with John Fetterman where he said he didn't want the Chinese to own farmland here. And anybody who knows me knows that I've absolutely beaten that topic to death. It is so easily debunkable. If you literally type in like who owns the farmland in the US, you'll find countless results, and it's not China. So he shared that and I corrected him, and I think he took well to it if I remember correctly. But I would say Josh and Rec are probably the best guys that we got right now. Maybe we should just do that right now. Or actually, well, you know what? Before I do that, Conrail, when it comes to the MC trying to work with people, yeah, I think that's true. I don't like this idea of pandering to right wingers, which they definitely try to do um, by being, almost like Trump light. Um, they're not very vocal about the Cold War with China, which is kind of one of my pet projects because that is the big one. As all of our military, officials always say, China is the big one. Russia is not, the big bad enemy that everybody wants you to believe they are. The big goal is China. It is a war with China. Lloyd Austin said that. Anthony Blinken said that. Jake Sullivan said it. Elbridge Colby, who's going to be in the Trump administration, said that. Mike Pompeo said that. Brian Mass had just recently said that China is funding all of these anti-Israel protests, which is just hilarious. And there's absolutely no proof of that. But I think that's my biggest frustration is that they almost fall into the reactionary right-wing stuff too much, which like I am pretty culturally right in case it wasn't a shocker to people. I mean, I'm very, very pro-life. I'm a blue collar worker. I'm married. I bought my house young. Um, I reject a lot of leftist premises. I just don't talk about this stuff a lot because it's like shooting a fish in a barrel. Like you don't have to make fun of Democrats because any sane, rational person who's just like right of center realize like, oh yeah, this is ridiculousness. So, apologies. Um, what's good, homie? Glenn, I hope you are well, friend. Yeah, man. But yeah, you know what? Let's jump into this now because I think this is important. So, let me pull up the screen here. I want to scroll up to the top. Now, my understanding is that whoever fundraises the most money is going to be into the debates here. So, um, the presidential straw poll. We're thrilled to announce an exciting opportunity for you to shape the future of our party. The chance to determine which candidates will take the stage for the presidential debate at the 2024 Libertarian National Convention. With only space for 5 candidates, your donations will directly impact who earns a spot in this pivotal event. Here's how it works. Simply choose your favorite candidate below and make a donation on their behalf. The 5 candidates with the most donations, highest dollar value by the end of the convention business on Thursday, May 23rd, at 8 p.m. Eastern Time will secure their place on the debate stage. Your support will play a crucial role in deciding who represents our party's values on a national platform. Don't miss this opportunity to make your voice heard, to support the candidate you believe in. Donate now and help shape the future of the Libertarian Party. Let the competition begin. So let me refresh this actually because I'm sure that this is probably changing by the second. So I'll read the names and we'll go through the amounts. Charles Belay, Joe Collins, Toad, Mike Termott, Lars Mapstead, Chase Oliver, Michael Rechtenwald, Dr. Jody Jones, and Joshua Smith. So I guess going through the candidates, let's kind of just breeze through my thoughts and kind of what I think of them. Let me get this out of here. So Charles Belay, I had no idea who he was until he literally showed up at a debate of or one of the debates and had pretty much said like he was pro vaccine, pro lockdowns or something like that. Um I really wasn't impressed with that, and I got to say like nah, bro, that ain't it. And 45 donors with $17,000. Looks a little fishy. I think this dude's got some big money behind him. Joe Collins, I have no idea who he is. So I will not comment on that. Toad, gotta love it. Gotta freaking love it. He's hilarious. He was on the show. Him and Duke did their debate, and I know Duke was just kind of fucking around. I do think it's funny that Toad is actually in and got almost $400. Mike Termott. So I don't know much about Mike, but I'll tell you what I do know about him is that I don't like him. Let me read some of these comments real quick before I keep going here. I almost took my drink out seeing Toad's photos, Ken Bone. Oh my god, dude, it's great. I love it. Uh, Charles Chase and Lars are fed plants. I don't know about that, to be completely honest with you. Um, I think Lars just made a shitload of money off that adult friend finder and then decided to throw his hat in the ring. Um, this is going to be an interesting take, and I know I'm probably going to get some heat for it, but like, I think it's interesting that Lars is in the race, and I like the idea of somebody who can run a business successfully and make a lot of money doing that. Um, I don't like the business that he runs, obviously, but I do like that he probably has some knowledge on running businesses and making money and being profitable because, he was able to spend lots and lots of money on his own campaign. I don't like that deal. What he's doing and all that. Although his vice presidential candidate Larry Sharp is just one of the greatest people ever. So, anyways, Mike Termott. Um, he had a tweet saying that we needed to declare strategic clarity for Taiwan. And I don't believe it was like in respect that like the US should recognize Taiwan as its own country. He worded it very, very, very poorly. And it it to me kind of read as saying that we need to declare strategic clarity for Taiwan and say like Taiwan as a country, which if you listen to this podcast, if you listen to anybody from the Libertarian Institute's podcasts and heard us talk about the strategic clarity would mean that the US would depart from what is known as strategic ambiguity, which is where we basically don't recognize Taiwan as a country, we recognize it as a territory of China. Declaring Taiwan as a country would likely raise the stakes of a potential war between Taiwan and China because they would see that as it would be like if Hawaii, and this isn't like a perfect analogy, but it's almost close to it. Like if there was a war torn history between Hawaii and the United States, and every other country didn't recognize Hawaii, and then Hawaii was recognized by China as a country and then they started sending arms there. It's not a perfect analogy, but it works. So he made that tweet, and then the day that Iran had attacked Israel, he condemned Iran. Like, come on, dude. We're supposed to be the anti-war party, and yes, should Iran have struck Israel? No, probably not. But let's also talk about the fact that Israel has been completely dominating and slaughtering Palestinians en masse since October 7th. And then they struck the Iranian consulate in Syria. And then Iran had attacked Israel because of that. It wasn't just like Iran attacked them out of nowhere. So, like, get with the program, dude. And I'm not a fan. He has, the second most amount of money. So he's going to be one of the people that's going to be representing the Libertarian Party. And I got to say, I am not stoked about that. Now, I know I talked about Lars Mapstead a little bit. I don't know that much about him. I know the adult friend finder thing. I haven't heard him on any podcast. Honestly, I probably wouldn't look into him. I just don't like the adult friend finder thing. wouldn't get my endorsement. He follows me on Twitter. I don't know if he ever tried to reach out to me or anything like that. If he did, then I never saw it. Um, wouldn't endorse him. Chase Oliver. Mike is probably a soft neocon. Yeah, and Connor, I think you know this just as well as I do. That like now the new neoconservatism is basically to say Russia and China are our greatest threats. They're our greatest competitors, and we have to win this fight with them. So we have to arm Taiwan to the teeth. We have to arm Ukraine, and we have to, arm Israel to the teeth because Iran's a great threat too. And then South America, the Monroe Doctrine and all this stuff. That's kind of like what the new flavor of neoconservatism is. And a lot of libertarians don't even realize that. But Chase Oliver is kind of like more of a leftist libertarian. He's pro-abortion. I know he wouldn't give a straight answer on giving hormonal blockers to kids, which is a big no-go for me, because I do not believe children can consent. I believe that it's indoctrination. It's wrong to stop, um, kids' natural processes. If they're adults and they can consent to that, I don't agree with it, but, adults can make up their own minds, but I don't think children should be subjected to puberty blockers and stuff like that. So that's a no-go for me. Having a rich porn kingpin as a presidential candidate would be the absolute worst optics we've been trying to avoid. Yeah, I agree. I completely agree. So moving on to the next row of candidates. Actually, this is the last row of candidates. Dr. Michael Rechtenwald, who I actually have grown on quite a bit. I thought he was pretty boring at first, but over time, I've grown to like him a lot more. He solid on the issues when he was on Timcast. He made some pretty good points, and he did make a specific point to say China's not a threat. He made a specific point to say that, hey, we are arming and sending money to Taiwan too, which a lot of people don't know this, but that actually has the most unanimous support when it comes to passing aid for them. And I think part of that is because it's like the lowest amount. But like obviously Ukraine recently got the most aid, Israel got the second most, and then Taiwan got the third most. I think Taiwan got 8 billion. Israel got 16 billion, and then Ukraine got like 50 billion dollars in the foreign aid packages. And a lot of credit to Michael Rechtenwald for pushing back on Timcast for all that. I know he's a very, very well-read author. He's written a lot of books. He got fired from NYU for basically not towing the Marxist lines, my understanding, and basically how he's told his story. And also I liked on Timcast when he said that he would not weep at the wall. He said he would give us our Javier Milei moment, but he would not weep at the wall. So big ups to him for that. He's run a decent campaign. Everything I've seen from him, I've liked quite a bit. But you just can't get away from the fact that he is boring. I mean, he is not exciting. He's gotten better, but he'll put you to sleep. And we're being kind of, the Mises Caucus is basically trying to pull the wool over everybody's eyes and tell us that he's the greatest dude ever and super awesome. And he's great, but just cut the shit. He is kind of boring. He's a boring academic who is knowledgeable on the issues. And if he were to win the nomination, I would vote for him. So that's about all I got to say on Michael Rechtenwald. I like him. Would support him if he was the presidential candidate. So yeah. I should say Rechtenwald is a fantastic Mises Institute member and lecturer. Yeah, absolutely. I like him quite a bit. Dr. Jody Jones, I'm going to be honest, I just have no idea who she is. And judging by the amount that she's raised, I don't think a lot of other people know who she is either. And last, but definitely not least, I did his show and he's done this show, and I consider him a friend. Joshua Smith. Josh is great. He has the fire and the passion. He's a friend of mine, and as he said, he is the only pure abolitionist candidate when it comes to abortion. So him and I agree there. I would say he's probably even more pro-life than me because for me personally, I am pro-life insofar as my only exceptions are rape, the life of the mother, and non-viable pregnancies. I do believe that abortion in those situations is okay because I do believe a mother who already has lived her life should take precedence over a child that is not viable. And rape because a woman did not consent to said action. It is wrong for her to, have to carry that pregnancy to term. These aren't exceptions that I necessarily like. But for me, I believe that those are reasonable exceptions, and I don't think you should force somebody to carry a child to term that they did not consent to conceive. I do believe that when you have sex, that you consent to conceive a child, but I do not believe that if you are raped, that you should have to carry that child to term. Now, where this gets a little bit murky, and maybe this is a little bit of a fault on my position, I'm perfectly willing to accept that, is when you if you're pregnant for 6 months and it was due to lack of consent, I do believe at a certain point it's kind of like, well, now you foster this child, and I do think it's wrong to change your mind. Like I said, this is pretty murky, but I think it should be kind of like as soon as possible. Um, it shouldn't be like, oh, well, I'm in the third trimester and the baby's about to pop out and I don't want it anymore. At that point, you should probably just give it up for adoption. Josh is great on all the anti-war stuff. I kind of laid out a little bit of an issue I had with him earlier about the whole Fetterman and China farmland stuff, but he's been really good on a lot of the China stuff as well, which I really really like about him. Anti-Zionist, which I really, really like as well, which Michael Rechtenwald is good on the Israel issue as well. But yeah, Josh is great on the issues of war, foreign policy, abortion, as well as domestic policy. When he talks about not Title IX, but I know he knows a lot of the specifics about like how families are incentivized essentially to be broken up, and I really really like that. The Swampcast Network. I'm not sure who exactly is running that. If that's apologies, Mitch or Josh, but either way, I hope you guys are doing well. Thanks so much for dropping by. But yeah, between Josh and Rec, if I had to go for one, apologies, Rec, I do like Josh just a little bit more. I heard somebody say that it's not quite his moment, and I, for the most part, agree. But I believe that he has the passion, and he's loud and rowdy enough, and I like that about him. And he's willing to throw bombs, and he's a lot more into the culture war stuff, which some people may have a little bit of an aversion to. I don't, so I do like him slightly more than Rec. So now maybe we go over the financial stuff and kind of how this is going to look. So I'll refresh it one more time because, like I said, this is probably changing by the minute. All right. So Chase Oliver has raised $19,585. Jesus. Charles Belay raised $21,000. Mike Termott raised $18,000. Lars Mapstead raised $24,000. Michael Rechtenwald raised $15,000, and Josh Smith raised almost $12,000. Josh has 193 donors. Rec has 184 donors. Lars has 41 donors. Mike Termott has 133 donors. Charles Belay has 47 donors, and Chase Oliver has 162 donors. So this goes to show you Josh, I think, has the most grassroots support. It's a shame that he doesn't have more in financial donations. I think that's because it comes from largely working class people, and I think Rec is in the same camp as well. I really really like the fact that they have a large amount of donors with, unfortunately, not a lot of money, because that means that once again their support is coming from grassroots, coming from people like me and all my listeners, hopefully. So yeah, let me run an ad real quick and we'll just keep going. All right, guys, we are going to take a quick break from the show to tell you about the show's sponsor. We are now brought to you by Fox & Sons Coffees. You can see right here, I got the Den Blend Dark. Really enjoy that. I've been drinking a lot of their Brazil Honey Prep. Right here, as you can hear, there's not a lot of beans left in it because I've been drinking it quite a bit. Just tell you a little bit about Fox and Sons, why I support them and why you should too, is that Stephen had started the company up in Michigan to help teach his son about entrepreneurship. I'm all about that, and I do firmly believe that in order to spread liberty in our lifetimes, we have to support those who support similar values as us. And Stephen does support all the same libertarian values that I bring and talk about on the show a lot. So go to foxandsons.com, use code Kyle at checkout to get 15% off of orders $25 or more, and there's always free shipping whenever you place an order that is more than $37.99. Find their coffee absolutely fantastic, and I'm sure you will too. So one more time, go to foxandsons.com, use code Kyle at checkout to get yourself a little discount. Let them know I sent you, and support the coffee that supports you. All right, guys, thanks. Back to the show. Yeah, so let me refresh this one more time. I can't believe Lars has $24,000. Somebody threw this out there that he is funding his own campaign, which I think is very, very likely. Yeah, Josh at 11,000, Lars 24, Mike Termott at 18,000, Charles Belay at 21,000, Chase Oliver at 19,000. So right now, if you're listening to this live, it looks like our, and I don't like this at all, our people on the debate stage are going to be Lars. Let me make sure. Limited at $35,000 maximum. Favorite candidate, 5 candidates with the most donations, highest dollar value. Okay, so right now it looks like Lars, Charles Belay, Chase, yeah, Mike Termott and Rec are going to be on the debate stage. Man, well, in my opinion, I think Rec will probably win the nomination because he has the most support. Um, Man, it's upsetting that Josh didn't make it because I know he's been campaigning his ass off. So, like I said, I would, if I was there, I would more than likely vote for Josh. But on the debate stage, between the five that we have, and it brings me just not as much joy as it would bring me to say that I would, support Josh. I would vote for Rec out of those five. So, oh man, that sucks. That really sucks. Um, Man. But yeah, so I figured I would do this show. Let me get this out of here. Just kind of talk about the Libertarian Party. Let's look this up. Libertarian polling numbers 2024. Just Google this. Let me see. I'll pull it up. If Ron Paul couldn't do this already, what are any of these people bringing that makes a difference? It's a fair point. Fair point. Supposedly the candidates are going to try to petition to make it the top six. Okay, yeah. Well, I mean, if it's top six, then it would definitely be Josh in there. Um, I would just hate to see Josh not be in there. Once again, Josh is my guy. I'd hate to see it. Show this tab instead. If it ends up not happening, then it probably means the MC really hates Josh. I think they're split. I'm going to be honest. I think the Mises Caucus is split between Josh and Rec. And if I had to guess, I'm going to be honest. I think slightly more people support Josh than support Rec. If I had to be, if you had to pin me down to one position or another. Okay, so voter percentage. However, libertarians are also represented within Democratic and Republican parties, while others are independent. Through 20 polls on this topic spanning 30 years, Gallup found that voters who identify as libertarians ranged from 17 to 23% of the American electorate. Well, that's actually pretty interesting. That's Republican. Ratings, presidential average. Stein. Oh man, Mapstead put himself in all these polls. Yeah, Trump is shaping up to win. Harris. That's fucking hilarious. Kennedy at 11%. Kennedy had challenged Trump to a debate, and I think that would be interesting. I just don't think that that's going to happen. I don't think Trump's going to do that. I think that's because Trump would probably lose, or he wouldn't look good. He would not look good. I don't even know who any of these people, who some of these people are. Russell Corbin, Rocky de la Fuente, Zoltan Istvan, Jasmine Sherman. Results from Libertarian voters. Yeah, overwhelmingly Donald Trump. Huh. Yeah, I don't know any of these. Some of them people. That's kind of funny. I guess we're not really going to find any good information there. But Lars has an army of porn bots manipulating all the polls. Yeah, you're probably right. But all right. Well, I figured I would just do this podcast, and right here at the end, I would tell you that I would support Josh if the candidate is Josh or Rec. When it comes to the Libertarian Party presidential nominee, I'll be voting this year. If it's neither one of them, then I'm just not going to vote this year. People can get mad at me for that all they want. People say that the troops died for your freedom to vote, but they also died for your freedom to not vote. And it's also absurd, the idea that they died for our right to vote. They died for Western hegemony and the military-industrial complex. Anybody who's studied, enough of military history kind of knows that. So, I think that's it. I'm going to be up in the woods this weekend. I'm going to be kayaking and just happy as can be away from all this political stuff. But I'll still be on Twitter and talking about all this stuff. I think I'm done voting. Yeah, dude, I don't blame you. I really don't. There's nobody that I'm like legitimately excited for. I was kind of excited for Kennedy, if I'm not lying, because he was actually seemingly good on Ukraine and China. And if you go back and listen to a couple appearances ago for Connor, him and I were glowing with support for RFK. And then literally, literally the next day, he comes out and just goes on this insane Zionist tirade. And we're like, oh, well, never mind. The official Red Pill Caucus, if you're trying to talk about like Red Pill stuff, then okay. Endorses Josh. There's a split with the leadership of the Mises Caucus and Josh. Like I said, I don't like some of Josh's rhetoric. Like the commies are coming for you, but he should be there for his efforts. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I agree, especially with like the commies want you dead stuff, because like I have enough friends that are outright communists now to know that like I think they see the same problems. I think they think this is the result of capitalism. And I think I can't fault them for that. I cannot fault people for saying, looking around at the world that we have right now and saying, oh, well, if this is capitalism, I don't want this. I don't blame them at all. But us libertarians don't see this as capitalism. We see this as like a crony market set up by billionaires and faux elites that rig the game in their favor, where bankers bail themselves out and then, lobbyists come over from weapons firms to get in the pockets of politicians to make sure they support their causes. So, yeah, it's not capitalism. So, like, I think the communists see the writing on the wall and they see the same issue that we see. We just disagree on what the actual like cause is. I think that like we need to reassess how we view a lot of these political differences. Because I don't think there's like a clearly defined left or a clearly defined right. Because when I say left and right, I use the popular definition currently, where like Donald Trump, Lindsey Graham, and the Republicans are the right part of America. And then Joe Biden, the Democrats, Hillary Clinton, AOC are all the amalgamation of the left part of America. Technically, a lot of people would say I'm not right because I am anti-death penalty, pro-drug legalization, and I'm anti-Israel. That would take me out of the popular lexicon of what a lot of the right wing in America would say is kind of like their core beliefs today. But they would say I'm definitely not a left winger because I'm an average blue collar worker who believes in free markets, capitalism. I'm pro life, and I'm a straight white guy. So that puts me way out of the Democrats' reach. So, if you're going to the convention, hit me up. Let me know how it goes. I'll be watching from afar, not on my kayak, because I don't think I'd get service, and I'm not going to put my phone in the water, and my phone's always dead. I mean, it's literally in the other room charging right now. So, I think that's all I got. Thank you guys so much for listening. If you go to the convention, support our guys, Rec or Josh. As people always say, vote your conscience, which generally means I want you to vote for the person that I want you to vote for. But no, I seriously mean it. Vote for Josh or Rec. I don't think you should vote for the other guys, but that's just my opinion. Vote for who you're going to vote for. I don't have any control over you. I sent you a positive word about the Swampcast. Oh, thank you. Yeah, you know what? We tried to set it up a while ago, and actually, what's funny? If they would have time tonight, I would be able to hop on their show. But I don't know if they probably already have a show scheduled, and they're probably going to the LNC convention. But yeah, with cognitive vigilance, which we're not doing tonight, because Brandy and Ben are going to the convention. There's no cognitive vigilance tonight. I don't know if there's gonna be one next week, but yeah, feel free. Mitch and I tried to work it out and it just didn't work. I know he's working a new job now, so yeah, anytime those guys want to do a show, then I'm more than willing to do it with them. So yeah, but yeah, thank you guys so much for listening. I probably should announce this earlier on in the show, but I did launch memberships for the channel. I'm gonna keep them pretty cheap at $3.99. I think it's $3.99 a month. And what that will get you access to is I'll shout you guys out if you become a member in the at the beginning of every show and probably at the end. And you'll have access to all the live footage of A Common Crown. I'm probably going to start to put out just like videos every here and there of us playing live. I just want to make this a way if you feel like you like the work that I'm doing and you want to support me, then you could become a channel member and do that. I would really appreciate it. And it would help me kind of continue this podcast and get on cool guests and continue to do what I do. But yeah, cheap membership. And I want to give you something for your money. So like I said, all A Common Crown. If I do like videos of us in the studio or maybe do all the live recordings, I have most of our live performances on the channel. So like I said, you guys will have access to all that. It's not like a big deal, but I would just like to give something to the people, and I'll probably do like hangouts afterwards if like I have some of the guys from Libertarian Institute on. Maybe I'll do like a video link or something like that, and you guys could just come on and we could just shoot the shit for a little bit afterwards because I'm sure no surprise to anybody when Connor and I start talking, we just go and go and go. And literally after we get off, we're usually talking for about like an hour or two afterwards. So maybe if you guys become channel members, maybe I'll let you guys in on that and we could just shoot the shit afterwards. Um, just kind of some ideas I'm floating out there. So I don't know if you could see it right now on YouTube, but if you feel so inclined, then please become a member. And I'll try to make sure I get all this stuff situated, and I'll give you like little emojis and stuff. It'll probably just be me making stupid faces. But anyways, I think I'm going to call it quits there. Um, Next couple weeks, I got some pretty cool guests coming on. Unfortunately, the Ryan Dawson show didn't work out, but maybe one day we'll work something out. He's just it wasn't easy scheduling with him, and I thought we had it, but unfortunately, some stuff came up for him, so he couldn't do it. But definitely some cool shows coming down the pipe, and somebody that I had on once before is coming on Monday, and I know you guys are really, really gonna like this guest. Not political. We'll probably talk some political stuff, but not too much. But it's gonna be a lot of fun. So, anyways, thank you guys so much for listening, and until next time. Oh, Tiger Fitness, the Memorial Day sale, Fox Sons Coffee. Thanks for listening. Take care.